go
No,
live.
however you want to do it. I just wanted to flag for you that I will have to hop off at 1 o'clock.
Okay. You know, we are usually pretty fast with Sprague. If we have voting, we'll make sure that we put that all in the top. And if I had anything to the end, we'll make sure that we don't have any voting items if you have to roll off, and
Awesome.
we'll
Sounds
pay
good.
attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Simon, can you start the recording?
Yes, started.
You did.
Yes.
All right, very good. I did not know you started. So I will call this meeting to order. And it is the subcommittee of, it's the Sprague Subcommittee of the Municipal Accountability Review Board. Today, is March 23rd, and the time is 12:36. The only opening comment that I have today is your chief of staff of the treasurer, Treasurer Russell. So we have Andrea Cormier, who is with us now, and she is joining, representing Treasurer Russell. So many of the players here, we only see Sprague like once or couple of times a year. So you'll get to meet the players here for the town of Sprague.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. First item on the agenda is approval of the May 26, 22 minutes. The minutes have been included in your packet. Do we have any questions?
Sal Luciano, so moved.
Thank you, Sal. I appreciate that. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Andrew. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And any abstentions?
That would be me.
Thank you. All right, the minutes have been approved. It's almost been a year since we've had a subcommittee. That's amazing. That means that they're doing very well. Moving on to the presentation of the FY22 audit and corrective action plan. The audit report has been provided, and the auditor has provided us with a presentation and slides for us to go through today. The town auditor is King and King Associates, and Sean O'Grady is with us today to help walk us through the outcomes of the FY22 audit for the town of Sprague. Thank you for joining us, Sean.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
We're doing great.
Would I be able to share my screen?
Please do.
Okay, can you guys see the audit report?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and does everybody have the PowerPoint in front of them?
We did send that off. Just maybe refer to the page as you're walking through it if that's what you're going to do. That might be helpful.
Yeah, so I was going to scroll through the audit report, and then it kind of refers back to the PowerPoint. So this PowerPoint is kind of dual Board of Finance and for you guys. So there is some stuff in for the Board of Finance that you may or may not care about.
That's okay.
I'll just skip through the things I don't think that you guys are too concerned with. So for fiscal year 22, they had the regular annual financial statement audit, the Connecticut State single audit, and they also had a federal single audit because they broke the 750,000 threshold, along with the Board of Ed EFS. We'll go to page 14. So the general fund's total fund balance at June 30, 2022 was 495,000. The components which make that up can be seen in a table on page 36. GFOA recommends keeping 2 months annual revenues in surplus, which is about 16.67%. Obviously, that's not possible at the moment with the 5% threshold, but I think in the short-term future, they should be able to get back to there. So for the calculation of the loan repayment, their total fund balance right now is 5% of their general fund basis expenditures. The fund balance over the 9.9 million on page 16. Should be right here. Back to page 16. So the general fund had a surplus of 478,000 before transfers in and out. There was also an additional transfer to capital non-recurring of 413,000 to get them back under the 5% threshold and to clean up some of the old negative unassigned balances in the capital fund. Pages 14 and 16. Capital non-recurring fund is now a positive fund balance. It still has some negative unassigned, but in total it is back to being positive 212,000. Going to page 20. The water and sewer had a positive cash flow of 14,000, which is good because you would expect it to be self-sustaining. So I like to put in little charts to see fund balance trending. You can see back in 2019, there was kind of a big issue. 2020, about a zero fund balance, and then 2021, almost 380,000, and then 2022, a little bit higher, 495,000. So it's trending in the right direction. This is the capital non-recurring fund. So the blue ones, those are negative unassigned. So you can see in 19, 20, 21, there's large negative unassigns. It's only down to negative 106,000 for 2022. And then in total, it's positive. The chart is a little deceiving because the graph is bigger in these ones, but they got negatives in there.
Nope, understand.
Okay. Going to page 32. So the town purchased a piece of land for 251,000. It was partially grant funded. That grant got picked up in the state single audit, and we'll talk about that later on. Pages 33 and 34 lists out the outstanding long-term liabilities. Page 34, so it has the debt maturity table showing how much principal and interest each of the next 5 years, and then in groups of 5 after that. Page 35 has the details about the loan agreement with MARB. Reaching a fund balance greater than 5% would trigger the payback based on the current year's excess of revenues over expenditures. And without the additional appropriation in fiscal 22, Sprague would have had to make a large payback in fiscal year 2023. Usually we just point out the town's share of the teacher's pension liability, even though they're not currently responsible for any of it. Sprague's share is 6.1 million. Their share of the teacher's OPEB is 665,000. Pages 49 to 51. So here's the detailed budgetary schedule. Everything was pretty close to budget. The Board of Education was a little bit under budget, 213,000. Here you can also see the additional appropriation forward the transfer to capital non-recurring. Skipping ahead to page 60, the schedule of property tax levy collected and outstanding. We usually look at the ratio of the outstanding taxes receivable based on their current levy. At the end of 2022, the ratio was 3.3%. We usually see it between 2 and 8%, so they're at the bottom of the range, which is good. So we're going to go to the state single audit next. And going to page 6, this has the fiscal year 22 schedule of expenditures. It was about 3.66 million in total state expenditures. 2.8 million was ECS, excess cost, and school construction. 386,000 was municipal purposes and projects. And there was also 142,000 roughly related to school readiness. On page 8, so this is the schedule of findings and question costs. For internal control over financial reporting, we had no identified material weaknesses or significant deficiencies or non-compliance. With the state program, the open space, and we've seen this other places too, this one requirement kind of gets missed. The sign that's required to be put up, it just fell through the cracks. They did correct that after we pointed it out to them. So that's this finding right here. To the federal single audit, pages 6 and 7, fiscal year 22 schedule of expenditures of federal awards. It was about 1.07 million. 266,000 was related to the school nutrition program, as everybody was grant funded. 415,000 related to ESSER. 151,000 related to special ed IDEA grants, and 100,000 related to the Title I. Coming to schedule of findings and question costs. Again, no findings for internal control over financial reporting. And then there was no findings over the federal grant programs that were selected. We also did not have a management letter this year. So I would say everything is looking pretty good except for that one sign that got missed. But
Fantastic, right? If you're going to miss something, all right, we'll take that, right? It's better
Yeah.
than a lot of other bad findings. So it's an oops. How's that?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
way I look at it. And it's a one and done. They've already fixed it, right?
Yep.
Fantastic.
I guess if there's any questions, I can go to certain pages.
No, I think you probably would agree with me that I think they've made some fantastic strides in the work that they have done over the years. As you've seen, the fund balance trending in the right direction. I think that the Board of Ed and the town working together collectively has made a huge difference, and that the progress that they have made, it's baby steps, but I think that they're making great progress, and their vision, and knowing that, collectively they're looking to close down, other deficit areas, which they need to, because then they will be able to operate, solid, because, one major issue can, when it's their finances are so lean, could become a catastrophe. And I think that they've made a lot of great work. Kudos to everybody. I think that they would probably be a great group to work with, unless you tell me otherwise.
No, they are.
No problems, right?
No.
And I'm glad to hear that there's no findings or, any repeat findings or no management letter. So this is all fantastic news for both parties. My only question that I would have for you is as you're looking through these things and you're looking at the finances, do you see any areas of risk that elevated to your level that could be of concern that you would want to bring to this board's attention?
No, not for Sprague. We don't.
Very good.
I think they've got some pretty good controls in place. We've seen a lot worse elsewhere, honestly.
I'm sure. This board has. But so we just would like to make sure. That's it for questions. Does anybody else have any questions, or would the Board of Ed or the city have anything that they would like to add?
No, I think we're all set. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you, everybody.
Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. Then we can move on to the next item on the agenda, and that is review and discussion of the Board of Education's 24 recommended budget.
How would you like to proceed?
I am going to let you give us the highlights if you would like. That I think would be quite helpful.
Not a problem whatsoever.
Perfect.
So on the documentation we have a summary and highlights. I think it's on page 1 or 2 of the packet that we sent.
Okay.
So total dollar increase is $413,191, which is a 5.99% increase. This is really being driven by a lot of things beyond our control. The drivers are regular ed tuition that we have to pay to high schools. We just have kids going to high school. That's up 1.47%. Tuition for special ed is up $108,751, which is 3.03. Transportation special ed is up $142 and $860, which is 2.07. And our health insurance, we believe it's coming in at $73,218, which is 1.06%. Also, inflation is running, CPI, depending on what you want to tag it at, can be anywhere from 6.1, 6.7, depending on the week, actually. So that is really driving our costs up. The original budget submitted to this office by department heads and principal was $1.1 million. We knew that was not going to fly at all. So we went through this with a fine comb and really have cut things back. But this is a bare bones budget. This basically holds programs as is. And we have cut staff back. Our non-certified staff, we have reduced by 6.5 FTEs. FTE is full-time equivalents.
Mm-hmm.
So the rest is just programs and health insurance and special ed and regular tuition.
I don't recall what the increase was last year as a percent, but I feel like this percentage feels to me like it's higher than it was last year. Am I right on that?
You're correct. It was
I thought so.
1.6.
Thank you. Okay. All right. I thought so. And this budget does not include, is this maintaining or including any of the COVID funds, or is that separate? And that's one question. The second question is if you had funding related to COVID and you built programs, are you looking to continue with those programs and they're falling into the regular operating budget versus using the grant funds because you don't have them anymore as those being one time?
Well, we were really careful, having done this for a number of years with state grants that last, 3 to 5 years or whatever, in another district. We were really careful not to put money into personnel,
Mhm.
because then once you put the money in the personnel, either you're like, it's going to drive your budget, or you're going to have to cut personnel when the grant disappears. So we have very little in this budget covered by COVID funds. And we did things like improved technology, and other things that are things, and bought programs and curriculum, which the district truly needed for the vast majority of our COVID funds. With also the idea of, we feel that if we use those COVID funds, we're going to kick this increase down the road a little bit, but it's going to come due and be bigger next year. So.
Right. No, I think it was prudent in using it as a one-time project situations, or shoring up I think that you had put in some summer programs and things like that to help on the educational side, but it was, I recall that those, were to help the situation.
That is correct. They're all programs. If they go away, we're not okay with that, but it's not going to hit our main educational program in the building.
Mhm.
And I also just like to commend the Board of Finance and the first select woman. We invited them to our budget presentation to the board when it's my budget until the board approves it. And we had 2 Board of Finance members and the first selectman there with us. And so they have a better understanding of what we're trying to do. And we allowed them to ask questions, or the Board of Ed allowed them to ask questions, and they became part of the discussion, which I think is novel here in Sprague.
Definitely. You're going to become a really good model, though, to share with others.
It's about understanding what the budget truly is, and being able to answer those questions that they have. So we are just thrilled with the report, with the response that we have, and also their support as we move forward also.
Fantastic. I do not have any questions at this time, believe it or not. I have gone through it, and I think that you do a thorough job. I think as we start to pull it together, I might have them in once we get to the city level, or when we get to the full MARB. But now that I can want to get the full picture. Does any of the other board members have any questions for the Board of Ed before we go over and talk to the town side of the budget?
No, good job, Sal Luciano.
Thank you, Sal.
Nothing on my end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if
And
you have questions, feel free to reach out.
Will do. And thanks to your team as well, because I know you're not a team of yourself.
That's absolutely correct. You can't do it without a great team. Michelle's fantastic. So
She is. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right, let's move over to the town side.
Okay, so we've pulled our part of the budget together. Ours represents about a little less than a 0.5% increase. Some of ours was done with some shifting of personnel. We've been low on our public works personnel for a while, so we added a full-time person. However, there was already some money in there for part-time, so that represented about just a $20,000 increase. But we offset part of that with decreasing the position for the Commission on Aging. We're reducing the hours there that we feel we can do. There really were not a lot of major changes in this budget. just a little bit of shifting, you know, different things with waste management because tip fees were going up, but all in all, not a lot of, changes. But I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. One comment, that we did not put in anything for, we did not plan for a transfer to the reduction of the deficit for the capital non-recurring fund because we believe that by the end of fiscal '23, we're going to be able to erase that and we won't need to have a transfer.
And that's fantastic. I did have a question. Now, I noticed that you, the 60,000 that you eliminated, and you're keeping an operating transfer for, I would say, your regular capital fund expenditures that you would have on an annual basis. You went from, you're budgeting 17,000, but you went from actual spend in 22 of 22,000, and then you have over on you know, you're going to close the gap that is sitting there in the deficit. So my question to you is, and I know that this is a year when you're going to look to reduce the mill rate, and I think we're going to talk about this topic as well when you start to talk about the grand list and the outcomes of the grand list. And so that's some of the conversation that we want to make sure that we have. But when we talk about the capital non-reoccurring, I am wondering if you would consider an increase to that line versus 17,000. And while you had the 60,000 in the budget, I'm not looking for 60, but maybe 20, 25, and start to build up a little bit there so you have a nest egg if something should go off the rails. Because your only reserve, unless you have a contingency that I did not find, and you tell me if I'm okay.
There is a contingency in there for, let me just find it, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I think it's 40, but. On page 6,
Okay.
under miscellaneous, there's a contingency of $40,000 that we built in.
Okay, I found it. Thank you. All right. That's good. I still would think that you would, I don't want to happen what happened to you before in the non-reoccurring, you know?
Mhm.
And so, you know, as I talk to you and Melissa, think about if you could bring that up a couple of thousand, even if it meant that you're taking 3,000 from a different area and slowly move that, I'm thinking, to a 20, you know, come up with what should be our plan that we are going to reinvest back into our capital, because you don't have a lot of money, right?
Right.
And what are your needs? And I don't know if we've gotten to a point where we look at a capital budget and what your needs are over 5 years. And if we haven't built that, let's start thinking about that as you're starting to go forward, so that you can make sure your deferred maintenance is starting to get chipped away versus you automatically always have to go for new bond funds, right? And refinancing.
Okay.
Melissa, feedback on that too?
No, I think that makes sense. I mean, building up a little bit of a nest egg so we don't fall into what happened before. I mean, before there was some spending that shouldn't have been happening anyway, which
Correct.
because there wasn't the revenue to back it.
Correct.
But building the nest egg is definitely not a bad idea.
Yeah, I think you should have some kind of a reserve there and consider moving that needle up again. I will say it again at the full board meeting. So if at all possible that you can make any kind of change there, I think that it would be helpful. I know you have 40 on another line, and you guys are always open to some suggestions.
No, well, I mean, that probably would be a good idea, for down the road. I mean, we have started drafting and compiling our list of like for the 5-year, you know, vehicles that need to be replaced or different
Yes.
things like that. So, starting to put a little bit of money aside for that. The 17 does represent computer and, plan of conservation and development, reval, things that we know what the annual amount roughly, you know, would be, so that we don't have to do it all at once. But that would be a good idea also.
Okay. All right, so let's put that on our open items list to start to work on, okay?
Mhm. Okay.
I'm gonna look to my team right now. OPM staff, is there Simon or Lori? I even have Bill Plummer on here. Did you happen to see anything else here that we want to bring to their attention today? If so, please.
No, I don't have.
Okay.
Same, nothing here.
Okay. And are you anticipating that you're going to be, I know you have your debt reduced a lot this year. So as you start to look at your capital plan, do you think that you're going to be doing any kind of debt refinancing or looking for new funds in the near future?
What we've looked at so far is that we really don't feel we're in a place to borrow any more funds until we pay down. We've got 2 bonds in, I think, 2025 that will be falling off, but we don't want to add anything further to it right now. Our debt is pretty high for a town of our size.
I understand. Very good. All right. I do not have anything more for this today. Do any of the members?
No.
And I think we're free to let them, oh, no, grand list. Let's talk about the grand list. And I think that's our last topic, and unless there's some other matters.
May I just ask him,
Yeah.
are you comfortable with us bringing this to a public hearing? Is the subcommittee comfortable with us bringing it to the town for a hearing? Do you think we should make those changes first and bring it back to the Board of Finance before doing so? Just want to get a flavor of what you prefer.
You know, we're at the subcommittee. I would probably say, I don't usually make those kind of recommendations, I'll be honest with you. I think that you have a pretty solid budget. One of the things that I did not, I noticed that, you know, your property tax, your state aid, you're looking through it. It looks like a solid budget. Are you including any kind of increases to the staffing? Any rate increases? It's not
Yes.
called out. Oh, yeah.
No,
Okay.
Yeah,
No.
the 2%,
Okay.
is what we included. They've been very low increases here. It's been 1%, and
Right.
The market in the area seems to be 2.5 and higher.
Okay.
So we're doing lower than that, but that's
That-
what we put in.
Good.
Less-
I'm glad.
less-
I'm glad to hear that, because I wanted to make sure that both the city side was covered as well as the Board of Ed side.
Yes.
And so what did you do last year as a standard process when we got through this? Remind me. I'm sorry, because I have 3 towns and I don't remember all
No,
of the details.
That's all right. Let me just look back. I think what we did is after the subcommittee, we brought it, I'm just gonna look at my notes, Kim, just 1 minute here.
Okay.
After the subcommittee reviewed it and provided any suggested revisions. Then we went to the public hearing and got their comment, and then the Board of Finance went back and made any amendments,
Okay.
taking in the town feedback and your feedback.
Okay. But that was from the subcommittee. That wasn't up to the full MARB yet?
No, it was not up to the full MARB. The full MARB didn't get it until after, actually, the subcommittee got it back again
Yeah.
and made a recommendation after the public hearing. The subcommittee got it back
Okay.
again and made a
Okay.
recommendation for the full MARB.
Okay. Then you know what? I think we ought to do that.
Okay, then that's what we'll do.
In case you have any feedback. And then after you had the public hearing, you went back to the finance of to get them to vote on it, correct? Then you came back to the sub.
Yes,
Okay, okay.
Yes, they went back and made any kind of changes that they may have, based on what your recommendations were
Yep.
and the recommendations from the public hearing.
Okay.
And then it would go back to the subcommittee again.
Very good. Then, this being our first cursory, I still have an opportunity to take a look at it, but let me know when your public hearing is, and if we have any additional feedback, we can provide that to you.
Okay?
But other than that, I think we're okay. I think that I would like to hear about the grand list, because one of the things that's, sticking out and understanding that your method, the grand list is increasing, but you are proposing to reduce the mill rate.
That's correct. And I think we sent over the document. Overall, our grand list increased almost 35%.
Yeah.
The average real estate increased 42%. So using the calculations on the budget and what we needed for funds, we were able to estimate that we could make it work at 28.1 mils,
Mhm.
which would still be an increase for most people, particularly people that had real estate. People with just vehicles, they stand to see their taxes go down, but anyone with real estate is going to see it go up, probably an average of $400 or so dollars
Okay.
for the the average homeowner.
Yeah, okay.
Which once people started to get their property value from the reval, there was a lot of concern and angst because they were trying to calculate their taxes based on the current mill rate.
Yeah.
So for everyone that I spoke with, I said, don't do that. Even the letter had said that also, but that's just human nature to do. I said, because the mill rate has to go down because the grand list has gone up so much, but your taxes will still probably go up, just not the amount you're thinking.
Mm-hmm. And when you went to the Board of Finance, they were in agreement. So, Sal, this is, and I think we don't have Andrea any longer, but this is a 8.15 mill rate reduction. We're going from 3.25 down to 28.10 because of the grand list growth
Mm-hmm.
and the reset. I guess my only recommendation as you're starting to come back to that is, should you have built a little more cushion or not? And I know it's not, it's tight, but and where did the 28.10 come from? You know what I mean? Why not just like round it off to a even, 28? 28 is probably too
28
low.
would've-
So
yep, it would-
why
it
not
would've
go
been
to
too low.
2850, or 20,
I think because we've had so much resistance to increasing taxes,
okay.
that this is still increasing taxes,
Yeah.
even though the mill rate
Yep.
is reducing.
Right.
We did look at perhaps doing 28.25.
Yep.
But this was where,
Yep.
we felt there'd be enough money to cover the budget, so.
Okay. Can you send me just as a follow-up, if you did go to the 2825, how much higher would the taxes come in at? What's the differential for me?
You mean for the average taxpayer?
Yeah. What would your budget number change to?
Oh, okay. So what would our surplus be?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the tax line.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I can
Okay.
send that.
Thank you. The tax line and the budget. That's all.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for all of this information and doing a great job, and staying on course is fantastic.
We're trying.
Staying the course is really great. I don't have anything for other related business unless Sal, you have anything?
No, I think I'm just worried that they're cutting it too tight.
I am too, Sal.
Yeah, so that's my only, I mean, if something comes up, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have to borrow money, which you already said, the town has borrowed a little bit too much for its size.
Right.
So, I mean, I'd approve this budget. I think you guys did a great job, but if you could just give yourself a tiny bit more breathing room,
Yeah.
I think you guys would feel better too. I mean, we all see what one additional special education student costs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah,
Appreciate the feedback, and we'll definitely take that, a good, hard look at that.
you know what? Do this. When you do your scenario, Melissa, and you're going to give me the dollar amount increase for 28.25, 28.50, 28.75, and just for the heck of it, give me 29.
Okay.
And unless it's not big fluctuations, then you could probably just go to, a couple. But I know you put it in a spreadsheet. It's not a big deal.
Yep, no, I'll get that for you.
Okay, thank you.
I
Then this
know
way, go ahead,
I was
Sal.
just gonna say, I know there's a resistance to anytime there's a tax increase, but I think that you've been very responsible,
Right.
and just giving yourself a little breathing room. I think any taxpayer knows that that's good management.
You have one crisis and you guys are already in trouble.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
You are already in trouble. We know that. And that's what got you into the deficit in their capital. And that you never know what you're up against, and you're not necessarily going to be able to get grants to subsidize. And I know you guys go after absolutely every dollar that's there. One other thing that has been, and I say I didn't have anything on the other related, but you just sparked me, is the dam.
Yes, we are still kind of in a holding pattern with that. We're working with Deep Dam Safety, and they are working with with Fuss and O'Neill to try to draft a proposal for the different options. So where we're actually at right now is we're going to be holding a meeting, a public meeting to review with particularly the abutting property owners, but also any interested resident, the options between removal or repair of the dam.
Okay.
Because the price tag just to do the proposal for both options is going to cost a lot of money. So if we're deciding that maybe we're going to lean towards one option or the other, and of course, Deep is leaning towards they would rather see us remove the dam.
Okay.
So that's where we are with that right now. So far, there has been no removal, clearing of the dam, to be able to do the full inspection. But it's not as urgent since they determined where the water flow was coming from and that it wasn't a leak in the dam.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yes, there was in the powerhouse building, the basement was full of water, and they thought that
Yep.
might be leaking from the dam. But
Yep.
we called in a diving team. Well, we were there with diving team, and they went in, and what it was there was a valve in the basement of that powerhouse building that was turned on.
Oh my Lord.
So water was just running through this valve, and so the diver turned it off, closed the valve, and now they drained they pumped out all the water out of the basement, and now there's no water there. Well, actually, I think there's like a small leak right now that they're looking, but then they also secured the valve so that they assume that someone, a vandal or
Did it.
whatever, went in. The diving company said they'd seen that in the past where people go in and they turn valves and whatnot. So there's no telling how long it had been running. But it was not coming from a leak in the dam, so that reduced some of the urgency.
Okay. So these are some of the things that, really could hurt if things turned the table the other way. So yeah, let's look at trying to give you a bigger cushion if at all possible. All right. I think that would be prudent on our part, right, Sal?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I know, giving back 8.15, even though I know the others is the taxes are going to go up. Maybe we can level it out a little bit more.
Okay. Well, I mean, as you know, some people are only gonna look at the mill rate.
I
And
understand.
they're not gonna look at what it equals in their taxes, but some people are gonna, but I think that's fair enough. We'll look at that and,
Yeah.
see what those numbers are.
Please do. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. That's all I have for today.
All right, thank you
I'd
very
like
much for
to
your
move-
feedback.
Like to move to adjourn, Salvaciano?
Thank you, Sal. And I will second and say the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Since we don't have a quorum, Sal.
Right.
We're not staying.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.